Okay, so I know I don't normally start these this way, usually sitting down, but I do have a question to ask. It's just a general question. Would this movie be better as a cartoon? I wonder if Disney made a Disney animated film as a cartoon. And yes, I know they came out with Tarzan 2 years later. That's not what I meant. And even Brendan Fraser tried to go for the voice of Tarzan, but lost out to Tony Goldwyn. But anyway, would this have been better as a cartoon? Because this is basically a live action cartoon, right? Basically what it is. There's fourth wall breaks, goofy things, people falling in poop, and twisting your arm cartoonishly to punch someone. It's very much a live action cartoon. It's what it is. But I don't think it's that bad. I even remember liking the sequel, and I say remember because I haven't watched it in years. It came out in 2003 when I was in high school. But I remember I had the VHS because I kept wanting to rent it. My mom finally bought it for me, and I was constantly watching that damn thing. So, I don't know. Next year when I do the sequel, I will see if it still holds up for me. Well, I may bring these to show my son, so maybe rewatching the sequel, it will do something for me. Who knows? Because I really want to watch the sequel, but I don't want to have to review it. You know, but let's sit down and start this, as I say. Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to Dis-Cember. We're on day 15. We're almost halfway through. With this, we're talking about George of the Jungle, in case you haven't figured that out yet. And for George of the Jungle, I grew up watching the 1960s cartoon on reruns on Cartoon Network. In reruns on Cartoon Network. And I remember really liking the show. And in a lot of ways, they take that and they apply it to this. They take the Rocky and Bullwinkle approach and try to make it a live action cartoon. Where this works better. I mean, they even have the same guy doing the narrator voice, what just came out first. But you know, where I think this does it better is they mostly don't go too over the top with it like Rocky and Bullwinkle did. I haven't reviewed that yet. I may have to eventually do that. But, yeah. And I think we have a great cast. There's Brendan Fraser, Leslie Mann, Holland Taylor, John Bennett Perry, Thomas Hayden Church, Abraham Ben Ruby, John Cleese, Richard Roundtree. That Shaft. And I heard that Shaft is one bad mother. Shut your mouth. Only talking about Shaft. We can dig it. But, yeah. Great cast. And, I don't know if they actually filmed in the jungle, but it really looks jungle-like, I would say. It's probably just a set, but it looks jungle-like. They did a good job with that. So, yeah. The story is Ursula is in the jungle on some tour of Africa in the Bakuve region, where she meets the white ape, as he's called, George, King of the Jungle, who as a baby was the only one left behind when a plane crashed into the Twin Mountains that are hidden behind clouds, apparently. And he was raised by apes, including an ape named Ape who can talk, which raises some questions. We'll get to that. And so they have like a whirlwind romance thing, but she has a fiance, and there's all that, and then her mother gets involved, and her mother wants her to marry the rich guy, and yeah. It's stuff you've seen before, but it's done pretty well for the most part. But yeah, so we start off with an animated opening showing a plane, the narrator talking about this plane going over the Bakuve, hits those twin mountains that are hidden behind clouds, like I said, and the plane crashes. Everyone accounted for except for a baby named George, who is shown that he's George because he has a bib with the name George on it. And he is lost in the jungle, and then 25 years later, a 30-something-year-old Brendan Fraser is... He can't be no 25 in this, can he? I thought he was older than that. I don't know. Is now the king of the jungle, and we see the prerequisite crashing into the tree because George of the Jungle, watch out for that tree. And this is where I'm going to point out my biggest problem with this. Yes, that was the joke of the theme song and the cartoon in the original. But, whereas that happened maybe once per episode, not, I don't know, I don't remember it happening that much, but that was spread out throughout all those episodes of cartoon. This is one 90-minute movie, and they do it so much, and every time they do it, I just go, can we not, please, can we not, no. Even at the end when he rescues Ursula, it's one big joke. Even he's like, okay, George's gonna do the biggest swing in his life. It's gonna hurt very much, but George's going to do it. And so he swings, and of course he hits a tree, which falls down, and he saves Ursula. But it's like, yeah, that would have been funny if you had done the joke one or two times before this, not constantly. Is this the joke where he crashes into things, just constantly in this? We get it. That was the joke from the original. You didn't need to keep doing it as much. I'm just saying. Well, we cut to 25 years later, and Ursula is getting the tour by the Bakuve, I think it is, by Richard Roundtree's character and a group of African tour groups. African Swahili, I think they speak Swahili, I think it is. But she gets an unexpected visit from her fiance, Lyle Vandergroot. And the minute he steps on, the minute Thomas Hayden Church starts talking, steps on, you know, this guy is going to be the villain. There is a problem with that, because for half of the movie, he is gone. I'm serious. Like, the middle section of this movie, our main villain is just gone. I'll explain why. But he gets there, and he immediately wants to leave. He wants to take Ursula out of here. He wants to go someplace that has room service and, air conditioning and, all the things, because he's rich, and he wants all that rich stuff. Her parents are rich too, but she doesn't seem to be as snobby as he is. But they talk about going to see this white ape that exists in the jungle, and so these two guys, one of them, Abe Van Ruby, say, hey, we'll take you to the jungle with Richard Roundtree's character leading, of course, and we'll get the white ape. And so eventually, the next day, maybe that's not yet. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. The next day, Elias like, you want to see the white ape? We'll see the white ape. And they get lost in the jungle and are attacked by a lion. Lyle is an idiot, so he immediately runs, leaving his girlfriend, his fiance, I might say, behind. And so George comes in to save the day, and he does the swinging of the lion, which, yeah, like I said, this is very cartoony. George's not even trying hard. And then he does an elbow drop and calls it a flying pile driver. No, it's an elbow drop. A flying pile driver would be very dangerous for the person you're delivering it to, because you'd have to go off the top rope, holding it, and do it. I think it's been done once, but I don't think they do it as much. It's called an avalanche pile driver, by the way. But the pile driver is where you put the person's head between your legs, you lift them up by their legs, and you sit down. Or a protected version is you to hit down with your knees. This is an elbow drop, flying pile driver. That's Dexterity. They made that's the elbow drop, baby. That's what I do. I get the bionic elbow, baby, and I get in there. That's into that no pile driver, baby. That is an elbow drop. Let me tell you something, Daddy. He tell you that. Imagine if it was Dusty Rhodes sitting here. Don't worry, baby. I save you. Come here, line. I'll give you the bionic elbow. Lion be like, God. And I want to ask. There's a lion in the second film played by Michael Clark Duncan. Is that the same lion? Because I'd like to think that big, badass Michael Clark Duncan as a lion was defeated by skinny-ass Brendan Fraser. I mean, did you see Michael Clark Duncan? He's like giant man. He's a giant man. I would have loved to meet him. You know that? I always talk about what celebrities you want to meet. I would have liked to meet and shaken Michael Clark Duncan's hand. He seemed like a very nice guy, as far as I know. I would love to have met him. I never met a celebrity. Not really. I was in the same room as Kansas once, but that was a concert, so not really. No celebrities. Not really. I'd love to meet some. But I don't get out much. Anyway, Lyle run off like a little sissy girl. He gets knocked out at one point, trying to run away. And then George saves Ursula, but they crash into a tree. And she gets knocked unconscious. So he takes her back to his treehouse. And Lyle wakes up and starts ranting about how the white ape stole his girlfriend and makes it look like the white ape attacked him. He's putting berries on his head to make it look like his blood, which they're gonna smell the berries anyway. Even the animals are making fun of him from the orangutan. But yeah, he goes back and tells them, "Hey, stole my girlfriend. We need to go save her. It's your fiance, first of all." Meanwhile, Ursula wakes up in the treehouse with Ape talking to her, John Cleese, and she kind of freaks out because he's talking ape, wouldn't you? And throughout the film, they call the monkeys gorillas are apes, not monkeys. And Ape does have it. His name is Ape, for God's sake. He does have a point. He's like, well, apes and humans are primates, brothers. But yeah, apes are our primate brothers and sisters. So we are family. So basically, we got two different sides here. One is George and Ursula kind of bonding at the treehouse thing, and the jungle, and then Lyle convincing Richard Roundtree and the other people to go into the jungle and rescue Ursula. To which this is when Ape Man, Ruby, and the other guy are like, "Oh, we'll do it for you." With Richard Roundtree leading, of course. And so they go into the jungle where we get bad guy falls from poop. Classic element of American comedy. Now it's the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready? Ready. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, Lyle falls in elephant poop. And then he says the line, this is nowhere clearly digested or something. I don't know. It's very weird. But anyway, so yeah, he falls in poop. Shortly afterwards, he comes across them. I do want to call it a scene. But George realizes he has feelings for Ursula, so Ape kind of teaches him how to mate, but he teaches him to mate like an ape and does it on purpose to make him look like an idiot. Question. If Ape can speak perfect British language, why does George speak broken English? When you are a kid, you speak how you are taught by the people around you. So Ape, who can speak perfect English, British English, taught George to speak broken English, talking in the third person. I don't know. It's very weird. I don't remember if he did that on a cartoon or not. It's been a long time since I've watched anything from that, but maybe he did. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. But and so there's the whole mating thing where he's trying to do the thing, and she's just like bringing out. But then there's one cool night where they dance to this song that plays here and later in the finale. I think I know why the dog howls at the moon. Sandela, Dela, Mama Sandela, when I'm with you. That song that plays. However, I've heard the song outside of this, and in this movie, they had the George of the Jungle theme to it. Dun 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 dun. Bum ba dun 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 dun. They had the George of the Jungle theme to it. It's very, I don't know. It's kind of like with when Inspector Gadget came out, and there was the song by Youngstown, I'll Be Your Everything. There's a totally different version of that than the one that's presented with the movie, whereas the lyrics are different. Where in the movie version, he can do it automatic. He just calls out go go gadget Wherein the original version is, he can do it automatic. I can freak you with my gadget. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's different lyrics in that version. There's two different versions. I do prefer the Freddy Gadget version, but and that's what it kind of. It's not different lyrics. It just has that little dun 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 dun, dun added in there to make it. Hey, look, it's But I'll Be Everything does include the intro in both versions, dun 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 dun, dun which is the Inspector Gadget theme. So it's in both versions, and I don't know. But yeah, anyhow, Lyle like, okay, you gotta come back with me. We're gonna get married, and she doesn't want anything. She saw him run away, and she doesn't want anything to do with Lyle now. And he's like, what? No, you're my woman. And so he takes out this gun, which he had shown before as a lighter, but he gave it to one of the guide people, and he switched it with a real gun. So he accidentally shoots George in the head. Because this is a live-action cartoon, George survives. Lyle goes to jail for 45 minutes of the movie, about half hour of the movie maybe, while we then do Fish Out of the Water. And I will say this is handled better than Jungle to Jungle's Fish Out of Water elements, because George doesn't go overboard with it, like what they did with Jungle to Jungle, or he was just everything Mimisiku was doing in that movie was just, he was doing everything. They went way too much with it. Where here, he's watching TV and he sees a coffee commercial, and that slogan was what brings couples together. So he's like, George, get coffee. Ursula love George. So he goes and he eats the raw ground coffee, and he gets, and he's eating like Oreos and stuff, which, yeah, that kind of thing. And then he goes for a walk and kind of just, but he doesn't do stupid things. He saves someone who's hanging from the San Francisco Bridge. Golden Gate Bridge? Yeah, Golden Gate Bridge. I know things. Yeah. Again, sorry if it's shaking. I don't have my regular, my tripod broke, so I'm using an apparatus to film, so do my best. But yeah, so Lyle is sent to jail and is gone from this portion. The villain, or antagonist, she's an antagonist in this one, she's just straight up villain in the second one, is Ursula's mother, played by Holland Taylor. Now, we are shown that her father, played by John Bennett Perry, father of Matthew Perry, by the way, which is also funny that Christina Pickles is in the second one, because it's his mother-in-law in Friends. But, he's more understanding, but she doesn't. She realizes, Ursula says she's not going to marry Lyle. She doesn't want to marry Lyle anymore. But she's not fully going to be with George yet. But, because he swings in and he saves that guy, and then he has the parasail and he crash into a thing again, only it's like the cab of a boat. And, or ship, what do we call it? I'm sorry, I go on both of them, I know. It's bugging me. I'm sorry. I tried to hold it back until the end of the review. I don't like getting up. Man. It didn't go out. Hold on. Go out this time. I guess I could pause it. Big LT showed me how to pause it, and I still haven't figured out. Pause the damn thing when you gotta blow your nose, so that it doesn't. I'll start doing that from now on. I'm sorry. I don't have to edit, but I can pause like this. Look at me. I'm right here. Where did I go? Blink of an eye. I'm gone, Mr. Disembodied Voice. Deep in the jungle of Bukuve. Jaws of the jungle. No, I'm kidding. Oh, my head already popped in. But I can just do this. Poof! I'm back. Okay. So anyway, back to George of the Jungle. So now we have this storyline where she has her engagement party, but she doesn't want to marry Lyle, but they still do it, I guess. And she's falling for George. It was really only a half hour of the film, but then George, Dookie, from the cartoon, of course, comes. I forgot to mention Shemp, his elephant doggy. Yeah. That's cool. They do some, like, real animals, but then there's CGI. Mostly with Shemp, he doesn't really work. But, Dookie comes to tell George that the two people that were working for Lyle are now trying to kidnap Ape, and Shemp, and I guess Ape, I think, mostly. So George has to ship himself in a box with shoes. I think this is the one with the shoes, right? I kind of missed it. I was also sweeping up my kitchen. So I might have to redo again because it feels like there's still grit on the kitchen. But anyway, on the kitchen floor, excuse me. But anyways, so he goes back to save the day. Ursula realizes that she's in love with George, so goes back to the jungle. And they both get there pretty quickly. I don't know how she gets there so quickly. And she gets there, and she goes to tell him that George thwarts the two bumbling idiots and saves Ape. And she goes to tell George that she's in love with him, but then Lyle shows up, end of the movie, as our villain now, I guess. And during the time that he's not been on screen, he has joined a cult, is now their leader, I guess, and as an ordained minister, because of internet or something, is an ordained minister. So he's going to force Ursula to marry him, and he can do the thing himself. So he kidnaps her, and then George has to fight off the cult people with help from Shemp and Ape, and yeah. And I've seen this before in a lot of movies where, I'm going to kidnap you and force you to marry me. But what if the reality of it is going to set in afterwards when this gets done? What about after? Like, there are other movies where it's like, well, I'm doing this to get the money, so after I marry her, she's going to die, and then I'll get all her money. But with Ursula, what is Lyle's endgame here? Marry Ursula, but then what? She's going to be married to you. What are you going to do? Have her held hostage the whole time you're married? Well, what is your plan after this? Where is it going to go? And just, once you start thinking of reality, this is one big cartoon, live action cartoon, but still, when you really think about it, what's the end game here, Lyle? Well, like I said, George swings in, saves the day, hits a tree falls over, he saves Ursula, and we get this joke where Lyle still thinks Ursula's with him for some reason. He's like, okay, say I do, and we hear, and he's married to a gorilla, I guess. And then, so then they get married, George and Ursula do, reluctantly by the mother, because the father is very supportive. I can think of the word. Which he's not in the second one. I don't think the father's in the second one, if I remember correctly. The mom probably divorced him because of this, but who knows. But and then we show that he has a kid, and the kid runs into something, a tree branch, okay, like father, like son, okay, sure. And we get the most disturbing, strangest, unnecessary thing I've seen in this movie. We get a recreation of the beginning of Lion King, where Rafiki is holding Simba in the air, where here it's George with Ursula by his side, raising the sun in the air, and it's like they took their actors and just transposed them onto the matte painting thing. It looks terrible. This was a full screen. I think this was in full screen. Let me look. I think it's 4.3. Full screen, 1.33. Yeah. Full screen, which fits my TV, because my Blu-ray player will fit the screen, so it worked. But yeah, it was just weird, and I forgot about that. I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh, by the way, this is a PG movie, but this was still in the 90s, the mid to late 90s, where sometimes there was stuff, because there was talk of death. they say ass a couple times. Lyle says cigar, cigarettes, you know, there's a gun, stuff like that. Stuff you wouldn't see any PG rated Disney movie do nowadays. You know, it's very much that kind of. I think it's one of the last ones that you could do. Once they hit the 2000s, they kind of stopped doing it, I think. But I don't know. And for something like that, you had to call it PG-13. Even the narrator says ass. There was a scene where Abe Ben Ruby is arguing with the narrator. This is where I was thinking this might be a little too far. But even the guy's like, "Well, you're just arguing with the narrator." No, it wasn't. Yes, you were. No, I wasn't. Yes, you were. No, you weren't. Yes, you were. No, you won't. No, yes, no. It's like, oh. Okay, this might be going a little bit too much, but still, it was kind of funny. But yeah, when it comes to George of the Jungle, I'm going to say, I'm not centered, pretty good. So far my trip through this December has heralded pretty good results. Nothing too bad. I think the worst one is probably, not even worse, this is the least impressive to me was Dick Tracy, but no, much. But up next, the review I've been waiting to do. An animated film that you're going to watch after today as you see it eye to eye. And this review is going to stand out. But don't go on the open road because nobody else but you could watch this review. Till then, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one. Forgot to ask you what your thoughts are on George of the Jungle. Maybe I did when I was doing the script. I don't know. I'll see you guys. Bye.